at this coffee meeting. So my name is Ken. So I study time in biology. Maybe my wife is watching. It's a very simple story. So please imagine, you are in a room without the information of time. So the room is in a cave, so that light intensity is constant, and the temperature is constant over time. Please imagine. So no cellular phones, no PCs, no watches. The question is, can you wake up tomorrow? Or can you wake up day after tomorrow without the information of time? And so on. So you kept in a cave for more than 10 days. So that was an experiment. The answer is yes, actually. Most humans can wake up tomorrow and the day after tomorrow in such a room. Why we can wake up tomorrow and day after tomorrow? It is because we have a daily rhythm, internal daily rhythm in our body that derives the timing of the start of sleep around and the timing of the wake up. So for this one in Germany, the experiment conducted around Alps. So for this case, he wakes up 7 a.m. one day and 7:30 next day, and 8 a.m. next. It is not the same timing, but still there is some regularity. So only humans can wake up tomorrow and day after tomorrow. Actually, not only humans, but also other species have the daily rhythms. And actually, these are the lists. So the bacteria, so it's easy, but it's bacteria and fungi. Fungi is kabi in Japanese. It's propagate around the bread, the red one, the fungi. And the plants, say the mimosa, or ojigiso in Japanese, the leaf is open, it's closed. Even it is in a constant dark condition, open and closed pattern conditions. So we have the insects and human. So it is said that organisms appear after 3.5 billion years ago. Most of them after the daily rhythms. We don't know why. So actually, also some of the genes are shared between these species. For example, the gene called period in human for the daily rhythms is also found in fly. This is surprisingly simple. Of course, also other genes are not really shared, but some of the genes are shared, some of them are not shared. And the period at the constant dark condition is not precisely 24 hours, but constant conditions. For the case of human, it was said 25 hours before, but according to the recent experiment, 24.2 hours on average. It depends on individuals, but on average. For fly, 24, for the fungi, 21. So precisely 24 hours. Actually, I conducted this kind of the talk before at this institute, and I received a comment after that by an astronomer several years ago. It was during the emergency drill. We evaluated together and did the drill, and sometimes we had time. So he asked me a nice talk at the conclusion. And after that, he said to me, the rotation period of the Earth was not 24 hours long ago. Actually, he was right. I didn't know that. According to the recent experiment, according to their estimate, it was around 19 hours in 1.5 billion years ago. So we think that So the reason to have the daily rhythms is to resonate the period, rotation period. And now it is 24, right? But it is possible that when the fungi appears, the rotation period of the Earth was not 24 hours. So what I like to say is that we don't know why we have the daily rhythms, but the change of the Earth possibly affect the evolution of the daily rhythms. Yeah, so we have the daily rhythms. So you may ask, what are the components of the daily rhythms? Actually, the components are genes and proteins. Say in fact, gene activity in your brain within a cell is oscillating with a period around 24 hours. So that is the basis. Okay.
So what's the vertical axis?
Gene activity for one gene.
How do you measure that?
So yes, by using so I will explain later. So somehow we can measure gene activity. Actually, using the enzyme for the firefly we identified enzyme for that. And by using that one, when the gene becomes active, the cell becomes illuminated. So the quantity is here. So the period is 24 hours. And actually, so the next question is, how is daily rhythms occur? How is sustained rhythms occur? This is the next question. And for this, three researchers obtained a Nobel Prize in 2017. So let me explain. Sure. So did you have lunch already? So many characters. So we eat food, including proteins for our nutrition. And actually, simultaneously, our body makes proteins based on genetic information every hour. And for many proteins, the preparatory one is called RNA and mRNA, actually. And based on the gene, the RNA is produced first, and from RNA and proteins first. But the scientists discovered the mechanism. But what they found is that the protein called, from the gene called the period, the period protein is made. And that protein downregulates the activity of its own gene. And it generates the daily rhythms. Let me explain a little bit more. But when the abundance of protein is high, downregulation works very hard. So the kind of break. The gene activity decreases and increases. Then the abundance of protein decreases. So the downregulation becomes weaker and weaker. Then increases. Okay. When it increases further again, the break works, then sustained oscillation occurs. This mechanism was found first in a fly. And later, it was found that this mechanism also functions in human and also other species. And this is a beautiful story. So that is the introduction. So already 10 minutes. Yeah. So
You can wrap up in 5 minutes.
Oh, really? Roughly, there are 4 or 5 sleep types found in human being. So I think I will use another 10 minutes or so. So roughly 5. And for me, maybe so many people that you sleep at 11 p.m. or so. So for some people, they sleep at around 8 p.m. or 7 p.m. and wakes up around 3 or 4 a.m. It's called the advanced type. It's not the superior. It doesn't mean the superior, but the advanced type. For the delayed type, they sleep at 3 a.m. And for the case of the non-24, so even at the 24-hour environment like our society, their sleep time was shifted every day. It's a period of around 7 days or 30 days, and so on. And about it, I had the question from a high school student in August. I had opportunity to talk to the high school students from the Tokushima, and one of the students asked about after my talk, and I talked also about mathematical biology at the time. 23 students visited this institute, and I gave a very short talk. And he asked me, I read a book about daily rhythms, and it says that there are various sleep patterns in humans. You know that book. And he said to me that you explain mathematical biology, and his question was, can human sleep types be explained mathematically? And actually, this is the answer, one of the most important questions in this field. And you see, so now many genes can be measured for human beings. So for example, for the advanced sleep types, candidate 10 or 20 genes are already identified. And for the delayed type, also for the non-24 type. But we cannot connect this one and this one because there are so many components.
So this is genetic. Sleep types. So is it genetic, the sleep types?
It's on average, so but it's the data. So yeah.
I mean, I certainly feel that I oscillate between all these 4 pretty often. So I certainly feel myself, I can do any of these 4.
Well,
Yes, depending on the day.
I'm very interested and yeah, to discuss later. So for actually, so this is the one question, and so so of course there are some people are in between. And yeah, I think I don't understand your question, but please ask later after. So I think shortly I will explain some theoretical approaches for this issue. So one of them is that the same question, how do daily rhythms occur? Is this mechanism okay? That is the question. So the abundance of the RNA and the M of T and abundance of protein E of T. So one question is to try to understand the dynamics, the abundance, changing abundance of the RNA, M of T, is, and changing abundance of the protein described this way. Very, very simple. So this is the synthesis of the RNA. This is the decay of the RNA, H of M. And this is the synthesis of the protein, and this is the decay of the protein. Very simple. So we here assume that synthesis of the RNA decreases with the protein, because it is known that the protein downregulates the inactivity. Okay. So the assumption is, the first, we assume that reaction events should occur following the mass action kinetics. So if the abundance is higher, the reaction occurs faster. The second assumption is this one. The decay occurs more frequently when the abundance of the piece is larger. Okay. The decays occur more frequently. Yeah. So does the oscillations occur for the model? That is the first question. How do you think? Oscillations occur? No oscillation. So, and actually, no oscillation. Because there's a reaction function for the study. So the form is the so as you know, the M hat and P hat is a steady state. And V of T is the integral of this one plus the integral of this one. So, and if you take the derivative, it decreases with time. It's simple. As you know, that it assures that as long as steady state exists, it converts to the steady state, starting from any points. And no oscillation, actually, there is no oscillation for any choice of parameter and any choice of the function for this model. So I don't mean that the discovery and what's wrong. So actually, the downregulation is important. It's necessary. And we say that it may not be sufficient. So I try to explain that this way, the mathematics can be useful for the study of biology. So based on the other assumptions, we can make the other models and try to explain how it works. And the time is up. Yes, also, yes, for the, yes, actually, if there's three variable models, it is sufficient. But starting from the nonlinear models, it is very difficult to obtain the analytical solution. So from the conventional approach, the MOT is like so it's like by a summation of the trigonometric function, it's like the something multiplied by cosine omega t plus something multiplied by epsilon t cosine omega t plus something. This is not okay because of this one from the perturbative approach. It's related to the Hongo sublecture. It is wrong because it goes to infinity. At the first, because of epsilon, this part is negligible, but later, 10 days later, goes to propagate. Goes to infinity. But by using the other approach called the it's called the denormalization group method. That was the method in the physics, and by the Jingo Gibo at iTHEMS and Hatsa-san at iTHEMS, and also the Kunihiro-san, the physics at Kyoto. So that's what we say. Yes, so from this, we can have a good solution. It doesn't go to infinity. And now we can compare these things and these things. And it's already for the long term. So by using the theory, I believe that we can discuss the evolution and our daily reasons. So thank you for your attention.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kurosawa-san, for very interesting talk. So now, is there any questions?
I have two questions. One is, you wrote that the period for human beings is about 24.2 hours.
Yeah.
But most of us adapt to 24-hour period. So what happens to the?
Yeah. Great question. Actually, light activates. It is known that light activates the activity of the gene called period in human. So that is a mechanism. Possibly light affects all the other processes, but we I don't know. But
there's no the light is constant.
Yeah.
The natural period for human is about 24.2. So
yeah, it's actually a very good question. And in human, it depends on individuals. And I forgot. So it is different from 24.2. And for the case of rat, they use rhythmicity under constant light conditions somehow. So because of this one, yeah.
the second
Yeah.
related, but I wonder if we keep human in the cave for a very long period of time,
Yeah.
we still have rhythm, or does it break?
Yeah.
I personally feel that if we stay in the constant light environment for a long time,
Yeah.
I think our rhythm will break. We won't be able to sleep at constantly. But is it still
I think, I don't know, let's test. Actually, there is a room in Hokkaido University for this. It's not in a cave, but yeah. I think
But for the Germans did the experiment, right? How long did that last?
But today, to my knowledge, they continued for 50 days.
Yes, but in the last day, is it still a 24 period, or is it?
I think, yeah, I think yes, I think, yes, I think they didn't report the change in period. So yes, also there was also weird report that different experiments showing that there is some dysynchrony in one human. I mean, as for the timing of the wake time and the timing for the peak time of body temperature. The phase difference, the same phase difference. But for most of the cases, thank you for the. So for your questions, did you say that?
Yes, I was asking, is it genetic? So is it predetermined
Very good question. It's, yeah.
It is?
I answered no.
Yeah, probably not.
No, yes and no.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, actually, we know that the people in the UCSF identified the gene most important for this one. It's related to the period 2 gene. So there is a predetermined one, the genetic. That is why the genetic information is now can be used, I believe. And also it changes with age.
Yes, yes.
So some people, so some people wakes up early and early. Some people don't, but it is known that probably it changes with age. And also you see the habits, eating more, if you eat potato chips in that. So the other factors, food habit, and also the diet intensity, the temperature also affects. But yes, so yeah, complex. But I think genetic information can, for the predetermined part, can be, I think, understood simply from the mathematical model. Very good question. Other questions?
Okay, so Catherine has a question.
Yeah.
I have a question. Sorry, I'm going to try and turn on all my things. Okay. My question is actually, I think the comment about the 19-hour Earth cycle and the current 24-hour Earth cycle is maybe not the time scale to think about it, because I think probably the time scale of adaptation is much shorter. Meaning, I think probably a baby, for example, is sleeping and waking at all sorts of random time, and it takes some time for the baby to eventually have a sleep cycle that is more like an adult or like a young child. So I don't think we start with that cycle anyway. Like, do you know about the sleep cycle of the baby? Like, how about their gene regulation system? Because it seems to be completely broken. And also, as an additional comment to the same thing, which is that maybe 40 or 50 years ago, like when people were mostly living agricultural life, many people had many sleeps per night. So they would work up they would go to bed at sundown, but then they would wake up in the middle of the night, have a whole set of activity, even have meals, write poetry, do other things, and then go for a second sleep. So it's actually kind of recent that humans have this kind of, you go to sleep for 7 hours and wake up is actually sort of new. So I would think the cycle is maybe adaptive on a very short time scale, no? So maybe just answer my question about the baby, then probably it makes sense.
Yeah, good question, but I think I can give you the good answer because so yeah, the first is that it's very difficult to study the rhythms for the babies, human babies. And now there are some of the experimental research using the babies of the mouse.
Okay.
So there are some genetic, some genes are somehow switched off, and because of that, they don't have the daily rhythms. But so the regulation is unknown. And for the second life, I don't know. Yeah, I think very important question.
What I mean is that, the whole 7 hour cycle that is regular every day is really a new thing, is my point. And so at the time where the Earth's rotation was 19 hours, that was way before. So we don't have to worry about that. For the period you're considering, then 24 hours is relevant.
Well,
even the 24-hour cycle of sleep is also kind of new for humans, even. So.
yes, well, I don't know. I think the change of the rotation period might be very important.
Probably
Yeah.
for some guys. But if you condition me on 20-hour schedule, I think I will adjust.
Yeah, but so now that's very complex. So how that period can be explained, which is the difference from 24 hours, is one of the central question in this field. And so I don't know.
Yeah, I think probably one mistake of the field is to think that there is a system that regulates circadian rhythm. I think there's probably multiple systems that regulates other things, and there's some co-usage of common mechanism because we have fewer genes than we have function. So probably it's not optimal because it's used for other things. Like women's periods, right? It's also on a cycle, and it can change when women are around other women. So I think probably the same thing is true with the sleep cycle. Maybe your condition, your family, and your environment can have a big impact. So I think simply looking at the gene in isolation would probably lead to difficult to analyze results because maybe many other factors external can affect. And light, of course, is a big one.
Yeah. How can I say? Yeah. Yes, it's impossible to reject your point, but actually the women cycle is related to the daily rhythms. So one explanation can be possible, and explanation by use is also possible, and maybe we will see.
Yeah. Thank you. Very interesting talk.
What's the period like for other mammals, like a dog? What's the period for female dog? Is it also months?
I don't.
So if a baby is born in the cave without the difference of light, and if the baby grows up in that environment, do we still get the usual rhythm?
Babies.
Yes.
Yeah. No, suppose if the case of human, no, I think it is prohibited. And also that was conducted for fly for 50 years. And their generation time is 7 days. After more than 1,000 generations, they continue the daily rhythm. Most of them don't experience the light dark cycles, but they still keep the daily rhythms. I don't know for human, but yeah, for the case of flies.
Yes. But the variation is still occur in other species like insects, excluding flies.
Yeah, actually, the biologists using mouse made advanced mouse by manipulating their gene.
Yeah, and I'm curious about the social factors. Like if you go to bed, someone just guard you while you are sleeping. Then you wake up and he or she sleeps. So this the existence of this differential rhythm can be influenced by social factors.
Yeah. That's a very good point, and I think this still under controversial. So there is an experiment in my PC. Yeah, in Japan. So yeah, that behavior can.
Let's say, so it sounds like what you're saying is there's a kind of intrinsic period, the cycle, and then it's corrected somewhat by extrinsic mechanisms like sunlight, right? To kind of make sure that there's like an intrinsic period, maybe of like 21 hours or 21.2 hours, but then extrinsic mechanisms are kind of correcting it.
So, yeah.
But then how, if that's the case, then when the environment changes, so for instance, in like very temperate environments, like very northern or southern latitudes, when the sunlight's changing during the season, how does that work? Does the sensitivity to the outside mechanism change?
That's a very good point. I think to my knowledge, they don't change the sensitivity, but because of that, the phase of our gene activity changes with the season. And by using that information, our body can sense a change of the season. We don't know the merit having these rhythms, but one explanation is that to sense a change of the season, we have the rhythms. So yeah, so that's a good point. basically light affects the gene activity, and light, when the light duration changes, the duration for the activation changes, and also temperature affects. Yeah, that's a very good point.
Okay, so if there's no further questions, or maybe you can ask questions directly to Kurosawa-san, or you can discuss over the Gather Town, which we are going to go after this. Thank you very much again, Kurosawa-san. Please join me for thanking him.